this very active week of severe weather here across the Midwest, the plains, and even parts of the Ohio River Valley, and even and maybe the northern part of the deep south here this week. We should be live here, guys. Should be live here. So, welcome in, everybody. Sorry about the wait. I wanted to go live about an hour ago, but I had to fix a few things. Had to fix a few things. I hope the stream is not as laggy as it was last night. If it is, I'm sorry. But I think I should have got that dialed in. I hope I got that dialed in there. I need to figure out the correct settings for this microphone, but at least I got it to work tonight instead of just the phone audio. But it looks like I got the microphone to work. But here we go. We're going to get into this forecast here. And for today, we do have a slight risk, and it's ongoing right now across the central and northern plains. There is quite a few land spout tornadoes. We can look at today's, today's storm reports. Look at today's storm reports there. Only one land spout reported, but I mean, I know there's at least 4 or 5 people kept reporting them. But let me pull up chat here, guys, and then we're going to get into this forecast here. But tomorrow we do have an enhanced risk. So we do have an enhanced risk. We got a 10% hatch tornado from almost Minneapolis all the way down to Milwaukee and Madison, Wisconsin, almost all the way up to Green Bay, extending close to Chicagoland. And then we have a big 5% all the way down to the Ohio River, Evansville, Louisville, just to the east of St. Louis, south central Illinois, even parts of southeastern Missouri. Cape Girardeau, you're in that too. We got a 30% risk for hail and a 30% risk for wind. I do think that this tornado risk will be I do think this tornado hold on, guys. I forgot to get something up here. I want my here we go. Let me get my pen up. Okay. There we go. All right, yeah, but I do think that tornado risk will be extended south into northwest Indiana, into Chicago. You're probably going to have that 10% hatch risk there. Let me pull up some chat here. My phone is almost dead, so I might not look at it a ton. But welcome in, everybody. We're going to be doing these lives as much as we can. It's going to be tough for me to do these live briefings when I'm on the road chasing. So after this briefing here, I'm going to be done at around maybe 10, 15, 10:30. So we're going to go for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then I will be done. But guys, let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat if it's not lagging and the audio sounds good. Let me know in the chat. We do have a lot to break down tonight. We're going to start with the HRRR model here. And so I got to make a decision in the next hour. I got to make a decision if I'm going to chase in Minnesota or if I'm going to chase in Wisconsin or if I'm going to chase in Illinois, Indiana, Michigan. I got to make a decision there. No lag sounds good. That is perfect. No lag sounds good. So let's go out here to the future. This is tomorrow afternoon here, and you can see here's our 500 millibar jet punching in here. Punching in. We're going to have our surface low up here in Minnesota, and you're going to have an arc of supercells on this Pacific dry line. As this dry line's getting punched with dry air from the southwest, there's going to be moist air out of the south and southeast right ahead of this. Those are going to clash, and that's going to give us our forcing, our surface boundary to get storms. And then this upper level forcing, we have this Baja jet punching in down here, and we have our main trough up here. So the question that I'm trying to figure out right now, because if I want to target Minnesota, I'm going to have to leave right when this stream is done, and I'm gonna have to drive. Is gonna go off by like literally noon tomorrow. You're gonna have tornadoes probably up near that surface low by noon if it does destabilize. And so this would be that target up here. So it's gonna be up here, Minnesota. So here's our target 1. Our target 2 is gonna be kind of over here, like the eastern half, southeastern Wisconsin, right there. And then our other target is going to be down here, Chicago, into Gary, Illinois, and Indiana, over up to all the way up to Holland, Michigan. That's target number 3. So we have 3 targets there. That this is what I'm trying to figure out. What do I need to do? Do I need to go into Minnesota, Wisconsin, or just south of Lake Michigan? And so I'll give you guys a problem with all these targets. So up here in Minnesota, this target number 1. Here's the problem. Storms are moving very fast, and if they start to get north of Minneapolis, you start to get into some bad terrain. So west of Minneapolis, it's a lot of farming, a lot of fields. To the east, by that river, east of St. Paul, as you start to get into parts of western, northwestern Wisconsin, the driftless area, that terrain is terrible. That service is terrible, and I would have no interest in chasing up there. But if it could stay south or west of Minneapolis, I would be totally fine with chasing up there. And the other thing is, storms are going up at noon. So if I want to go up there, I got to leave soon. I got to leave after the stream. So that's what's going on up there. And then here's the problem with eastern Wisconsin. You have a lake right here. These storms are going to be moving quick, right? These storms are going to be moving quick. So they're going to be right into that lake. So you're only going to have 2 or 3 hours after storms form to really chase them before they move into that lake. And then target number 3 down here, target number 3, obvious issue down south. You do have Chicago. You do have the Chicago, Gary metros. Southwestern Michigan isn't the best terrain in the world. Northwestern Indiana is great looking. Parts of eastern Illinois have really good terrain. So, and I'm not as sure that storms are going to fire down there as they are up in target 1 and 2, where it's basically a guarantee, which is why you have that enhanced risk up in the north target and the middle target. So let's go break down some of these models here. And we're also going to be watching mixing, the dew points mixing. So let's go to, okay, so here you go. This is 1 p.m. tomorrow. Your surface low's up here. And you can see, look at this arc. So this is the enhanced helicity index, what I'm looking at right here. So that just basically kind of tells me, where you're going to have the best overlap of instability and wind shear. That's where you're going to have the best overlap of those 2 ingredients. And we know instability and wind shear, that's how you get tornadoes, and that's how you get supercells. When will the cheese curd hit my house? I don't know, Hunter. But so this is about 1 p.m. tomorrow, what we're looking at right here. And you can see that arc of instability extending up in the Minnesota. And if I take a sounding right here, and I know these soundings look pretty complex. This one's kind of contaminated. I'd love to find a non-contaminated one. Let's see if I can. Might not be able to, but we might just have to. There's one that's kind of not contaminated. So here's what I'm looking at up here. You have really good wind shear up here. So look at that. Our hodograph is very, very curved. You got about a 50 knot low level jet, a lot of curvature. You have your storm relative helicity values are almost up to 300 in the 0 to 1 kilometer region of the atmosphere, and that is a lot of wind shear. So these things I think could be pumping out tornadoes if you get a good thermodynamic profile. This is not a great thermodynamic profile. Your temperatures really are not hot enough. You're only setting at a 72 degree surface temperature. I'd want to see it more closer to about 75 degrees at the surface, and then those upper 60 dew points. You could still get tornadoes from this, but this would not be as robust if that surface temperature is just a little bit cooler. If that surface temperature gets a little bit warmer, if you're able to destabilize ahead of that arc, of supercells, you're going to have bigger cape, bigger convective available potential energy, and that bottom part of your atmospheric profile. And that's going to be able to print tornadoes very efficiently. So I really want to watch this target up here. So it'd be anywhere starting down here all the way up here. So up here, this target right here is where we'd have to watch. So now let's go look at our second target here down into Wisconsin. And this might be towards dinner, a little bit further towards dinner time. So about 5, 6 p.m. here. Take a sounding out ahead of some of these supercells. It's pretty good. I mean, you have a little bit of mixing and your dew points, 17-degree spreads. That's going to come down a little bit as you go throughout the day. Your photograph's not that great. You have a little bit of a curvature there. You could definitely get tornadoes out of this. Don't get me wrong. You have a pretty good sound in here, all about 2,500 cape, which is good. And let's see if we get. Let's go to 7 p.m. So this is as storms kind of would be coming into the Lake Michigan area. You get a lot better wind shear, but your thermodynamics really take a hit. This is just one model, so keep in mind I'm looking at one model. I tend to think this is the best model, but the other models might have different solutions, and we're going to look at those in a minute here. But I don't know if I'm loving this target. Let's see what it does from a storm standpoint. So it's printing some pretty potent supercells here. Look at this. It's printing off a couple pretty potent supercells right there, and then you have more firing down here, and then you have evidence of stuff starting to fire down into Illinois. And you can see those fire up 4 or 5 p.m. and they get into the lake pretty quick. And this particular model right here, it just looks like a mess. This is an absolute mess right here. Look at this. This is a mess of convection. You have just clustered storms. And I wonder if that's because the HRRR model is over-mixing it, or maybe it's catching on to something that could really actually happen. It could be over-mixing it a little bit. Let's look at our dew points on this model. We'll go back to 6 p.m. Yeah, this model's over-mixing. So the reason why those storms look so clustered and they're not as super cellular is because we are over-mixing a little bit. We're over-mixing just a little bit on this model. So, because look at this right here. You only have 62 to like 65-degree dew points. I would bet that this will be more like 65 to 68, 69. You're going to have some 70s towards Chicago. Right now, where I am in southwest Missouri, it is extremely moist. We had dew points around 70 today, and that air mass is moving right up to the Great Lakes region. Is it unusual to get a setup like this far north in May? Asks Allie Gabriel. Not really. At this point in the year, it's not unusual at all. You actually usually get setups up here in May. It's a pretty typical thing. I will say probably June. You probably have a better chance in June. That's probably the peak timing. That's probably the peak time for Minnesota, Wisconsin, parts of the Great Lakes is definitely June into early July. But mid to late May, not at all unusual. This is definitely something that does happen a good bit. So if we can compare our HRRR model, let's just compare it to the NSSL model and see what the differences are here. Okay, so this model has a nuclear explosion of storm. But okay, look at this model right here, the NSSL model. Look at this model. You have lower 70 dew points on this model here at 4 p.m. all the way up into the Northwoods of Wisconsin. You have 70 dew points all the way up there north, which is very rich, moist air. And then if you go to the HRRR, mid 60s. That's a big difference. It doesn't sound like a lot, but the difference between a 64, 65 degree dew point and a 70, 71 degree dew point, that's a big difference, especially with these kind of setups. That's a big difference. And That's a pretty sizable thing right there. So I'm gonna bank that the HRRR is off and it's wrong, because if I go look at I could even I could look at the GFS, and the GFS has 70-degree dew points up there. The European could be closer to the HRRR, but still, even the European has close to 70 dew points, even though it's a little closer to the HRRR. It has close to 70 dew points in spots. So I'm telling you right now, the HRRR is over mixing tomorrow. So our storms aren't going to look like that. They're not going to be a big cluster like that unless you just get too much convection. They're going to be robust supercells there. You're definitely over mixing. So if you don't know what mixing is, I'll explain it just really quickly. So whenever your surface temperature gets hotter, that that um that air can mix from the surface up into the atmosphere, and then that drops your dew point. So your dew point in the morning could be like 70 degrees, but your temperature maybe is like 75, and then the temperature rises to 90, and your dew point mixes down to like 65. So sometimes when your temperatures get a little bit too hot, and when you have a very shallow dew point, so when you have moist dew points at the surface, but maybe a few miles up in the atmosphere, you don't have, or maybe a mile or two up in the atmosphere, you don't have um, a higher dew point. Those lower dew points, a little bit up in the atmosphere, will mix down to the surface, and that'll drop your surface dew point a little bit. So I don't think this is an accurate solution right here. So we're going to look at some of these other models and see. Now it looks like we're having no issue. I mentioned last night I wasn't sure if stuff was going to convect or not. It looks like we're not going to have an issue with that. But you can see this NSSL model. It has a big cluster of storms too. So maybe that'll just be the theme tomorrow, is just over convection cluster. Maybe you have too much moisture and that could give you too many storms. Well, because that's a mess. This would be just a damaging wind event for the most part if this were to happen. Or look at our other convective allowing model. It says the same thing. Look at that, just a big cluster of storms. Fires a supercell down and kind of into central Illinois, and that's about it. But it does have these little guys up near the surface low firing right here. These would have to be watched for tornado potential. So tomorrow is going to be interesting to see how these storms evolve, because that's going to make all the difference, of course. Our impasse models look completely different. We can check those out. Yeah, this impasse model, look at this. Has like some clustered stuff, and then has like robust supercells on the northern Indiana. And then our other one, look at that. This has two massive supercells in northwest Indiana. Super robust storms up there. And then look, it has this arc of supercells southwestern Wisconsin and to southeastern Minnesota, that arc of supercells. So guys, what do you I'm going to try to read some chat here. What's up, Elaine? What's up, Sandra? Allie, what's up? Seymour, what's up? Chris, what's up? Hunter, what's up? Elizabeth, how's it going? Sydney, what's up? Jared, severe weather plans means take shelter for a safe place until the severe thunderstorm warning. Yeah. I bet we could have we're going to have a few moderate risks over the next week, and there's definitely a chance for a couple of high risks. I mean, some of these setups will be supportive of that. So now here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at Friday now. So to be honest with you guys, going into this stream, I did not know where I was going to chase tomorrow. Like I said, I had those 3 different targets. I didn't really know where I wanted to be. And I'm not going to lie, I still don't know where I want to be tomorrow. So I might just have to like start driving and get up to like southern Iowa and then figure out if I want to go all the way up into Wisconsin or if I just want to hightail it east over towards northeastern Illinois and northwestern Indiana. But we're going to look at Friday here, and here's our 500 millibar jet stream. So this would be air. This is modeling the air and the wind about 5 to 6 miles into the atmosphere. So this is kind of in the middle of your troposphere here. You can see, look at that big trough for tomorrow, and we've broken this down before, but here's your upper level low. And then here's your negatively tilted trough. You can draw that axis. If you can draw that axis from northwest to southeast, that means your trough is a negatively tilted trough, which means it has a little bit of an extra punch or a little bit of an extra kick to it to initiate storms. And then you have your Baja jet screaming off the Baja Peninsula down here. And this is really amplifying this whole system, is this Baja jet that's just screaming out of the Pacific Ocean down there. And that's the look for tomorrow. And then as we move into Friday here, let's go to the middle of the afternoon Friday. Your upper level low is still spinning up here, so your trough hasn't moved much. Your trough has only moved, your upper level low here has only moved like 100 miles to the east, 150 miles to the east, whatever. And your trough has not moved much. And then your main bout of severe weather is going to be down here in the warm sector across Missouri, even all the way down into Texas, it's possible. So about right here. That was a terrible drawing. That was a horrible drawing. But that's where your main threat of severe weather is going to be down there. And you can see this trough has a lot of forcing with it. Look at this. I mean, this is a pretty big kick of energy right into the Ohio River Valley, the Mississippi River Valley as well. And I want to see how far north the warm sector is, but it could be all the way up past I-70, past St. Louis, past Indianapolis. We're just going to have to see. And to southwestern Ohio. Here's our surface map. And this is about 4 p.m. here. So you can see you have a big cold front. So I'm going to draw this black line. That's your cold front. You have a big cold front. And then you have a lot of moisture here ahead of this cold front. And then you kind of have a warm front up here. So the HRRR is having no issue with mixing out those dew points on Friday. Look at this. You have deep moisture into the low to mid 70s on Friday. That is deep moisture, but it is the second half of May here. So this is what we're getting now. So no surprise here. Deep moisture. And then you're probably going to have a very strong low-level jet under that strong mid-level trough. And that's exactly what you have. You have a big kick, and this is only at 4 p.m., so this is going to increase, but you have a pretty big kick of a low-level jet all the way up to central Indiana and central Illinois right here. Big time, big time 40 to 50, even 50 knot low-level jet there. So knots are not, if you don't know, knots are not too far off from miles per hour. So 40 knots is probably going to translate to like 45, 46, 47 miles an hour. So just keep that in mind if I say knots. So, but a big time low-level jet. And that low-level jet, that is how you get big, strong tornadoes. It's how you get those mesocyclones to really ramp up and put down big tornadoes. So we're going to zoom in here on our Ohio Valley sector. Look at that low-level jet. That is just impressive. And if we go to 7 p.m., it gets even stronger. You have a 50-knot low-level jet into Kentucky, even 45-knot low-level jet all the way back to Memphis and southeastern Missouri. I think this is where the major severe weather is going to be. Friday is right there. Man, that is a really thick line I just drew. But right here is where your major severe weather is going to be. Maybe more like this. Usually you don't get big stuff into the Appalachians as often. But let's just look at our composite reflectivity. And oh my goodness, that is a wild scene right there on our composite reflectivity. Let me read some chat here. Am I chasing tomorrow? Yeah, I think I will. What is your gut telling me? I'm usually correct. Thank you, Elaine. I appreciate that. How are you able to tell where severe weather is from the 500 millibar? Um, I don't know. I kind of learned. I mean, there's definitely methods, and I kind of learned on the fly. Kind of learned on the fly, and then just experience has taught me a lot. Uh, but here's okay. So here's the look. So this is what we're looking at Friday, and this is a model run, 40 to 48 hours out. So please do not take this with verbatim. We're just kind of breaking these models down. So this is gonna change here, but this is probably gonna be a pretty decent scenario that could happen. A decent chance of scenario happens. So we go throughout the day. Okay, so here we go. You have some morning convection, 9, 10 a.m. But this morning convection, it's going to hightail it out of there to the east. So it's going to move. I cannot draw tonight. It's going to move to the east, and it's going to get out of there because of that strong wave aloft. That morning convection is going to get out of there. It's going to clear, and you could even have, according to this, you could even have a supercell or two form out of that morning convection. We'll have to watch that all the way across the Appalachians. I say the Appalachians doesn't get that much, but and then this event is probably going to go off a little bit earlier than normal. So a lot of times your peak tornado time will be from 6 to 8 p.m. And that might be the case again for this event, 6 to 9 p.m. That might be the case again for Friday, but it could kick off earlier in the afternoon, like 2, 3, 4 p.m. So you can see here by 2 p.m. here. So 19Z, by 2 p.m. here, we have supercells beginning to develop across southwestern Kentucky. And you have a big old supercell up there in Arkansas, probably mostly a hailer there. But boy, look at that. You get a big cluster of supercells developing south of St. Louis into south central Illinois. You get an isolated supercell there in the Mississippi River Delta, north of Jonesboro. You get more over here into central Kentucky. And then look at that. You have long track supercells developing in eastern Arkansas and moving. So I said the main risk was kind of up here. I might say it even would be down. You could even include down a little bit further south. But look at that. Just long track supercells, and just for fun, we can look at the UH swaths. So these are the updraft helicity tracks. And this is kind of just giving you an idea of where the most robust rotating storms are. And of course, that could mean rotating supercells. That could mean tornadic supercells. That could mean hailers that have a lot of mid-level rotation but aren't surface-based. So this is just any kind of helicity. And you can see, look at this. I mean, you just have long track supercells there across the Ohio and Mississippi River valleys. And we'll look at some soundings here. We're going to look at some forecast soundings and break down the environment to see what could happen in this environment. What are these storms going to do? So I'm going to take one in southern Illinois. And that hodograph is insane. That is some insane amounts of wind shear. For this time of year, that's something that you would see in like February and March. But now you have May instability. You have May dew points. You have May heating. So that's going to be a big problem, obviously. Now, you did have a cap. That sounding had a cap on it. So we're going to have to watch that. That could inhibit things a little bit. But we'll go to 6 p.m. So about dinner time, we'll take one over here in western Tennessee. Let's see what this is looking like. And this would be a big time tornado sounding here too. You do have a loop in the low level hodograph and then good deep layer shear. About 250 effective SRH. That's enough for strong tornadoes. You have wonky. I want to watch these thermodynamics. They're a little bit wonky in the low levels. That could really hold back the big time tornado outbreak potential if that's actually the case. But remember, this is one model 48 hours out. So let's not take it too seriously. But I wonder if your thermos get any better. No, they only get worse, obviously, as you get closer to the evening. That's usually how it goes. Yeah, so weird thermos, big inversion on some of these soundings. We'll have to watch that. Our NSSL model's almost loaded in. Let's see what this one does. So this is totally different. It's not showing those discrete supercells. It's showing more of a clustered mess. So like it just shows a big cluster developing in eastern Missouri, southwest to central to eastern Missouri. And then that cluster just moves through the Ohio River Valley. You'd probably have like some kind of derecho, which is a long-lived significant wind event. If this happened, and I bet you have supercells fire down here into southeastern, south central, eastern Arkansas. But on that note, we're going to look at the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and then into Monday, and we'll touch back on Friday and Thursday again before we end the stream. We'll go back and look at that stuff again. So let me we're going to use our GFS model and our European model here. So I'm actually going to go to COD weather College of DuPage site. And we're going to look at like kind of our atmospheric energy here, our 500 millibar vorticity. So this is the amount of vorticity you have up in the atmosphere. So there's our, you can see those brighter the colors, the yellows, the oranges, the reds, the pinks, the blues, those are higher amounts of vorticity. So you can see tomorrow you have this big ball of vorticity up here. And then you have a little bit of an extra kick of vorticity from that subtropical Baja jet. So you have two kicks of vorticity. The main lobe of vorticity is over the upper level low, so the upper level low pressure. And then we're gonna move this trough. This trough, like literally, like I said, literally just sits there. It sits over Minnesota, North Dakota, and it just spins and it just reloads. Kind of slows down and reloads. There you can see that vorticity for tomorrow across the Ohio River Valley. Or sorry, not tomorrow, for Friday. Sorry, guys, for Friday. And then that trough moves off, and then you have another little shortwave trough Saturday that we're going to have to watch. This shortwave trough Saturday across Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Texas. We're going to have to watch that one. And then here you see off the West Coast, the next wave is coming. That next wave is coming, and that one on Sunday, Monday, that could be Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, actually. That could be the big boy. That could be the kind of trough that puts down a multi-day major severe weather outbreak. It's that kind of system that could put down an outbreak like that. So you see that little wave moves off Saturday, and then Sunday, there's that trough coming off the West Coast. There's that trough coming off the West Coast right there, diving down. And it has some vorticity out ahead of it. So this is going to spark some storms along that dry line. They're going to move east off that dry line. They're going to spark some storms Sunday afternoon and evening. And then it's going to move down and eject across the plains Monday. There you go. You get another punch of maybe even stronger forcing on Monday as this trough continues to strengthen and even strengthens more into Tuesday. So I mentioned last night, if you're on the live stream, I mentioned Tuesday could be a big day. It just depends on if that trough keeps its strength or if the trough kind of pulls itself apart and shears out. And it looks like these models are trending towards that trough keeping its strength. So this trough keeps its strength, and then you have a lot of vorticity across the Ozarks, Iowa, Midwest, Illinois. You're going to have another big severe weather outbreak Tuesday if this scenario is right. We're still 6 days out. Got a lot of time for stuff to change. 6 days away, stuff is going to change. As we get into day 3 to 4, it's kind of really starting to get locked in. So we're almost there for Sunday and Monday and Tuesday. We're almost in that 3 to 4 day range. But so I think this is a good product to kind of just look at the spin in the atmosphere. I think it's a pretty good product to do that. The 500 millibar vorticity. So we're going to go back and look at composite reflectivity and see where these storms are going to be firing on these days. So here we go, Saturday. This is just a GFS model too. So you're going to have, I bet you have more widespread storms up here. But you have storms firing off the dry line across northern Texas. And then as we move into Sunday, you can see that dry line sets up, and that dry line tries to fire some isolated supercells there. I don't know why my drawing just got so small. Tries to fire off some isolated supercells up there off the dry line, Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, probably even up into Nebraska too. And then really gets those going after dark. And this is just a GFS composite reflectivity. So if there's like a big blob of it, in a specific spot, like don't take that serious. It's just kind of it's just one model output. There's a lot of models we could look at, a lot of data to look through, and then Monday could be the biggest day. But you have a pretty strong convective signal, a couple different spots on the dry line there. Northern Kansas, southern Oklahoma. And then look, those storms fire off. They kind of recycle through, and then boom, again. Dry line by the middle of the afternoon Tuesday. Like this, surface low up here, probably. Dry line fires off more storms out ahead of it right there. Iowa, Missouri. So it's going to just shift maybe a couple hundred miles to the east from Monday to Tuesday. And now I want to look at our low-level jet. So our low-level jet, you're going to hear me refer to that a lot. That is the wind about 1 to 2 miles above the surface, and that is what really, like I said, makes those mesocyclones crank, and that's really what gives you tornado genesis, is that strong low-level shear. That's how you get things to really spin, and that's how you get robust rotation, strong rotation. You see, there's our system. Big low-level jet Friday. Saturday, a little bit more kind of meh. There's not much low-level flow out here. There's not much. So Saturday might be definitely going to be the lowest tornado day, in my opinion. It's going to be Saturday, probably just mainly a big hail and wind threat, but an isolated tornado threat too, of course, on Saturday. And then Sunday, you can see that low-level jet's much, much stronger, 35 to 40 plus knots by 7 p.m. And then kicks up even more to 40 to 50 knots by 10 p.m. So your low-level jet always does increase after dark around dinner time, and then into the overnight hours. And then there it is. It's reloading Sunday here. You can see it's reloading Sunday. Ooh, I did not mean to do that. It's reloading there on Sunday, and then you can see big low-level jet Sunday once again, 40 to 45 knots. When you're going to have as an explosive environment as we're going to have Sunday and Monday, it's not going to take much to get tornadoes in 30 to 40 to 45 knots of low-level flow. That is plenty for strong to intense, even higher tornadoes. So we'll see. We'll see, but you have plenty of low-level flow, and then that low-level jet really blossoms after dark there on Monday, and then stays strong. And then by about 4 p.m. on Tuesday, pretty strong low-level jet from northwest Arkansas all the way up into central Iowa. And then look at that by dinner time Tuesday, 45, 50 plus knots of low-level flow. So those knots kind of similar to miles per hour, a little bit less. So this would be, 60 plus miles an hour of wind just above the surface. And then things kind of shear out And maybe you have something across Ohio or Kentucky or Indiana on Wednesday. We'll have to keep that in mind too. So my one of my bigger questions is after Tuesday, what the pattern's going to look like, because it could really slow down. It could stay active. Probably won't be as active as what we're going to get soon. Yeah, and you do have an event across Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio on Wednesday. You could certainly get tornadoes from some of these forecast soundings I'm pulling. Maybe not quite as robust of an environment as the couple days before that, but you could definitely get some tornadoes on Wednesday too. We'll have to watch. That's a whole week away. And then this GFS run kind of reloads things into the plains. You're going to have some moisture. This is what you're going to have here. You're going to have moisture sneaking in on the backside. You're going to have strong troughing in the east. Okay, so you're going to have this jet stream is going to be very, very, very strong here in the eastern U.S. And you're going to have it not be too strong. So you are going to get the east side of the Gulf of Mexico is going to be moisture starved, but you're going to have some moisture piping up that west side of the Gulf of Mexico, and you're going to have enough. You're going to have enough of little short waves over the plains to get some severe weather here. If this scenario happens, it's still a week away, so we'll see. But this GFS run seems to think that we are going to have some setups and some moisture sneak back into the plains here. Okay, now we're going to look at some of these models for Friday again. We're just going to look at the composite reflectivity because that's what we chase off of. I'm just kidding. Definitely a part of it. Okay, so this model tries to fire some robust supercells, 4 p.m., right on the edge between the Ozarks and the Delta. Keeps kind of just makes those line out into a big, probably big derecho given the environment. So we can look at the wrap for tomorrow too, because I kind of want to see what the wrap shows up in our northern target. I'm going to answer some questions in the chat here before it's almost 10:15. I'll get out of here soon, guys, but let me answer some questions in the chat. So if you have a question, ask me. I'm going to be looking. Elaine says you were in the perfect area for the March 14th EF4 tornado, but a nail in your tire kept you from getting it. Thankful that you're safe. Me too, Elaine. That nail in my tire, I'm kind of upset. I'm like, dang, man, I could have been on that tornado if I didn't get that dumb nail in the tire. But I also look back on it and I'm like, well, maybe the Lord was protecting me from something with that nail in my tire. You just never know. So that's how I have to look at things. I'm personally going to the Madison area tomorrow. The Madison area and east over to the lake is a good spot to be. I might be in the Madison area tomorrow. We'll just have to see. I got to make a decision here quick. I'm kind of at this point, I've kind of put myself out of position to reach the Minnesota target. So I'm kind of banking on Wisconsin, Illinois, or Indiana. But I could still maybe make it up to Minnesota if I really wanted to. Seymour says, convective chronic. Sorry, not. Okay, so Allie says she's at Seymour. Convective Chronicles has a lot of videos. Ben also does some education during chases. I do try to do some education during chases. If you watch these live streams that I do, breaking down these setups, I'm going to be giving you guys some education and how I break it down when I want to go chase. I don't want to make it too complicated, but I also want to have you guys learn a little bit here. But Convective Chronicles has some great videos if you're trying to get into that kind of thing. If you want to learn how to forecast, if you're interested in weather, also a set of videos, and these are a little bit more of an advanced set of videos, but there's only one way to understand it, and you got to look at the hard stuff, right? And then eventually you get it. But Rich Thompson from the National Weather Service has a set of videos. I think it's like 8 or 9 videos, and they're all like an hour and a half long. So there's a lot of content there. But I watched those like 3 different times all through. And I literally learned everything I know from that. So let's just look up Rich Thompson. If you really want some a little bit more advanced stuff. Uh, you're going to be a great teacher, Ben. You can explain things where people like me can understand. Thank you, Elaine. Appreciate that. Guys, yeah, if you're in here, hit the like, hit the subscribe. It's all free. Comment, get my chat rate up. Come on, if you guys have any questions, I'm in here to answer them. Chicago, Joshua, gonna have to watch things. I'm not. If I had to say my concern level out of 10 for Chicago, I'd say probably a 4 to a 5. So I'm not overly concerned. I'm not sounding the alarm bells or anything, but I'm also not like writing this off. I'm kind of in the middle. I definitely think there's a shot for some nasty storms there tomorrow, including a tornado potential. We're going to have to watch that. So I'm going to take a sounding near Minneapolis tomorrow. That's a great sounding. So notice on this, notice how I was talking about that surface temperature. Here you have a surface temperature of 78 degrees. That would be pretty potent up there in Minnesota. 78 over 69 there. A lot of some wonky winds up in the upper levels of the atmosphere. These wind barbs over here are kind of wonky out of the like due south or even southeast. But what really matters is your wind down here. So 9 kilometers and below. That's what really, really matters. And those look pretty good. So if this RAP model is correct, there's going to be a significant threat for tornadoes. Minneapolis, St. Paul, whatever city is across the river in Wisconsin, next to Minneapolis. I forget the name, but that town too. And then down here towards Madison, we'll look at a sounding. A little bit of a cap, but this is at 2 p.m., so you have a little bit of a cap still down towards Madison and southern Wisconsin. And your hodograph is not very elongated yet, but this is only 2 p.m., so this hodograph will elongate a little bit, and then this cap will kind of erase, and the cap is already almost eroded. I'm going to go a couple hours to 4 p.m., and we'll take another sounding near Madison at 4 p.m. So here you go. Like I said, that cap is gone by 4 p.m. in Madison, and your hodograph is starting to elongate a little bit. Kind of usually how things go. And then by 6 p.m. in Madison, we'll take another sounding. And here you go. No cap still at 6 p.m. And here's your hodograph. Look at that. Your hodograph is really elongated. So that hodograph tells you what direction and speed your wind is going at different heights of the atmosphere. So that hodograph is really elongated. And you have big cape. You have 3,500 joules a kilogram. I'm almost very tempted to target Wisconsin tomorrow. I don't know. I'm very tempted to do the surface low in Minnesota. It would be, at this point, I would need those storms in Minnesota. They're going to happen in 15 hours, and it's about a 10-hour drive up there. So that means I got to drive a lot in the next 15 hours, sleep in the car. I could target Wisconsin, go to bed here before midnight, maybe sleep for 5 or 6 hours, leave at 6 in the morning, and get up there, by 3 or 4. So that might be what I do. And then we'll take a sounding southwest of Chicago. Weird. Okay, let's take one by Gary. A lot better. You do kind of have this mixing. We're going to have to watch this. So the spread between your temperature and your dew point is about 18 to 20 degrees. It's a high spread, especially for this part of the country. So we're going to want to watch that. Now, if you have other factors are good, you can easily get tornadoes with spreads like this. I mean, we got strong tornadoes with 20 to 25 degree spreads near Omaha. If you remember a few weeks ago, we were live, of course. So you can definitely do it. I'm going to look in the chat again, guys. My phone's almost dead, but if you're just tuning in, we're breaking this setup down. Why does the low-level jet increase after dark? GR, that's a good question. I know this, okay, but I off the top of my head, I'm kind of blanking here. So, I call it the nocturnal low-level jet because it increases after dark, and some of it has to do with your surface wind decreasing. So, it gets really windy in the afternoon, and then that surface wind decreases around dinner time when the sun sets, and that increases your wind at just above the surface. I feel like it's been a while since I've touched on that, and definitely I need a little bit of a refresher on that one. But that's a part of the reason. Has something to do with pressure. Something I can't remember. But I do know that your low level jet does increase after dark. I say most of the time, pretty much always, especially on the plains, but it kind of goes for everywhere, but especially on the plains, you get that to happen. Is it going to stay active till mid-June? It's going to stay active till mid-June, says Joshua. Yeah, it's going to stay pretty active. I think we're still going to have an active jet stream into June. So it'll stay active into June. Let's look at some soundings in northwestern Indiana around dark. Not the best thermos. Maybe we have to go over here. Maybe this is where the storms will be. Probably. Pretty crazy low-level curvature there in the photographs. Huh. It's not going to be an easy decision. I feel like every one of these targets tomorrow, like I said, target 1, 2, and 3, they're all pretty good. They're all like pretty solid targets. But I feel like none of them are like slam dunks, if that makes any sense. We'll look at the Rufus model. It's called the Rufus model. I like to call it the doofus model because I think it's awful. I guess it's worth taking a gaze at, but I really think this model is horrible, guys. This model went down for like 3 or 4 months and was like under construction or whatever. They were recalibrating it, putting different equations into it. I don't really know exactly what they were doing, but they said they improved it. And it might be slightly improved compared to where it was a year or two ago, but I don't think it's that good still. I still think you have a lot better models out there, especially the HRRR. So this model, there it is. There's the surface low supercells up here into Minnesota right there. So there's target 1. Let me use black. I think that'll look better. There's target number 1 up here. So there's those surface low supercells. And then we keep going here. Ooh. Oh. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm gonna have to move that. We keep going here. And there's target number 2. Fires off storms are on target number 2 up here into Wisconsin. And then starts to fire storms on target number 3 around 7 p.m. And these will rip right into northwest Indiana probably. Oh, here we go. We just got another hour loaded in. Look at that. Look at those. Those are just ripping right into northwest Indiana. Oh my gosh, if this happens, it'll be a massive tornado outbreak. If every setup went how this model has them going, then every setup would be a tornado outbreak. So it's not the best model in my opinion, but it's worth taking a look at. Like, I'm not going to totally write this one off 100%, but it's not great. So I think I'm leaning away from Minnesota. Actually, we can look at some of the newer HRRR runs. They'll go all the way out here to noon. It'd be all the way up here in like central Minnesota, pretty far up there. That is such a weird sounding. Oh my goodness. Northwest of Minneapolis here. That is a weird sounding, but it would produce tornadoes. Okay, so those surface temperatures are near 80 up near Minneapolis. 82 over 64. So now the HRRR is mixing out dew points. Now it's mixing out dew points here all the way down to 64. It's mixing them out up on the northern target, which is not, that's just not going to happen. So I tell you guys, I love the HRRR, the HRRR. So you can see its name is right up here. I love the HRRR, HRRR, but it mixes out dew points like crazy. So I think, and then you can see here, the run only goes out 18 hours from now. It doesn't go out all the way, but you can see here, it's really setting up a potent environment right here. I think our 10% hatch gets extended down in Illinois, and if I had to guess, I'm probably going to chase up into southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois tomorrow. Let me read some chat here. Oh my gosh, guys! Listen to Elaine. You can become a member of the channel for less than the price of a soft drink. Okay, that's it. Does not cost much to become a member. Elaine is, she knows. Elaine's spitting knowledge in the chat. I don't have a lot of members right now, but once I get that member count up a little bit, and I assume on these live tornado chases is where we're gonna gain a lot more members than on these kind of streams. But once I get that member count up, we'll do members only streams. If I get crazy tornado footage and I want to release it to YouTube, I'll release it to the members first. You'll get a special preview of it, and then I'll release it to everybody else later. But on that, okay, we're gonna stay in here for a few more minutes. If you guys have any more questions, shoot them down in the chat. Anything you want me to talk about. We're gonna look at the European model here. So we looked at the GFS. Now we're going to look at the European model. So anything you guys want to know, spit it in the chat. Spit's not the right word. Shoot. Well, that's the right word. Shoot. Well, shoot it in the chat. Probably not. YouTube, I'm not that kind of shoot, but like shoot a message. Type it, send it in the chat. I feel like send is the word I was looking for. Send it in the chat. So look at the euro. There's the euro for Friday, and you can see that upper level low sits up there. And then short wave right here fires off all these storms. Big subtropical jet still influencing this trough, and then your other trough is out here coming in. It's going to dive in like this. Oh, I just popped my back. Oh, the back's going to be horrible after this next week. I'm going to be doing so much driving, guys. The back is going to be absolutely cooked. I'm going to have to go to the chiropractor. We got 50 people in here. Make sure to smash the like button. We're almost to 100 likes. We got more likes than we did last night on the stream. Appreciate it, guys. I want to end the stream, but we keep gaining some viewers here, so maybe I'll keep it going. But we'll look at the European model here. The Euro, I call it the Euro, short for European. There's that second shortwave Saturday, that little shortwave Saturday. It's going to kick off some severe weather across Oklahoma and Texas, and that's going to be the appetizer because, like I said, the big boy's coming on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That's when the big trough is coming. But that's going to be the appetizer there. Oh my gosh, Sunday, look at that. Look at that trough punching into the plains. This huge trough. A big trough punching into the plains here. Look at that. Big dry line, right? No, more like back here. Big dry line more back here. We're gonna look at the environment here. But here we go. Wow. This would be big photogenic tornadoes right here on the European. Let me break down the sounding. I know these soundings look complicated to you guys, but I'll try to break it down the best I can. So that red line is your temperature. Oh, that red line here is your temperature line. So that's modeling the temperature throughout the atmosphere. And you can see over here, here's the levels of the atmosphere: 12 kilometers, 9, 6, 3, 1, and then the surface. So that's pretty simple right there, right? This is like the levels in the atmosphere. That green line is your dew point line. So you can see you got a lot of dry air. So the farther left that green line is, the drier that air is. And then same with that red line. The farther to the left it is, the colder that air is. The farther to the right it is, the hotter. Obviously, it's farthest right at the surface. It's 83 degrees at the surface, right? And then as you go up in the atmosphere, you guys know it gets colder. So you can see that red line gets colder throughout the atmosphere. And then here's your hodograph. Anytime your hodograph has a big loop, like that, that means a lot of wind shear in the bottom 2 to 3 kilometers of the atmosphere. So this would be a sounding very capable of tornadoes and strong tornadoes at that. We'll go to the next day. Monday looks even bigger maybe. Yeah, look at that. Big loopy hodograph, lots of cape, big moisture. And you can see here the GFS, the Euro has kind of like a big hole right here. That probably means storms are firing in this area. So there's a big hole in your warm sector because storms are firing there at 7 p.m. Take a sounding over my house. We're going to take a sounding over Joplin where I live. Well, that's not that impressive, actually. You could get a couple tornadoes out of that. But wow, I mean, this is going to be a big couple of days here, and then this is starting to go out. Look at this. The European model is trending way to the west on Tuesday. So maybe Tuesday is going to be a bigger day out a little bit west. It's trending west. You can see that dry line on Tuesday right back on I-35. So I-35, you could have a dry line for 3 to 4 straight days. Maybe Tuesday it'll move a little bit further east towards like Joplin, Kansas City, Topeka, Lincoln, Fort Smith. But probably going to have a big warm front setup up here too, outside of this dry line. So let me answer a few questions, guys, and then I'm going to get out of here in just a few minutes. But let me answer a few questions. Okay. So if you have anything to ask me, yeah, I'm going to be live for 4 to 5 more minutes. Go ahead and ask. Welcome in, guys. We're just about to wrap things up. I'm just answering a few questions here. If you want to go back, these lives are going to stay on my channel. So if you want to go back and you missed some of the live and you want to watch, if you want to go back, go ahead. We started the live talking about Thursday, tomorrow. And then we went to Friday. We kind of went in chronological order. So we started the live talking about Thursday. Then we moved to Friday. Then we moved to Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And then we kind of went back to Thursday and Friday, touched on those days a little bit more. And then now we're just kind of answering some questions here before I get out of here in the next 4 or 5 minutes. But you can always go back and watch. Another chaser just wrapped stream. Yeah, there's some people live in Nebraska. Yes, Elaine. So all that humidity we're feeling right now in the Ozarks, all that humidity down here in the Ozarks, that's moving north to Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois. It's moving north to the Northwoods, the Driftless area. I think that's pretty cool. The Driftless area. I think that's a cool name up there. Hoping it can inch northward to Omaha. It probably will. Yeah, this will inch northward, though. That warm front will scoot up to the north there. Let's see. If you're just new here, guys, Ben got that in Worms. What? That doesn't make any sense. If you're just new here, guys, make sure to like and subscribe if you want more streams like this one. When I'm home, I'm going to do these. I'm not always going to be home, but when I'm home, I'm going to do these live streams. I can't really do them when I'm on the road, but when I'm maybe on the road, I can make some videos and post the videos. You guys, let me know yes or no. You guys think I should make some videos while I'm on the road? Maybe if I have some extra time. So here's the thing. While I'm on the road, I might kind of stop back through Joplin a few different times. So I might be home a little bit, so I could maybe pump some of these streams out. Maybe it'll be more in like the morning time before I go leave for a chase. So maybe I'll do these at like 9 a.m. Before I'm getting ready to leave or whatever. But will you do more lives explaining what you're looking for when you're looking? Yeah, Emily, I'm gonna be doing these quite often here. I'm gonna try them out, see where it takes me. Hopefully, we can grow on here. And whether I don't really care how many viewers I have. I just have fun doing these. I like to do it. So we're gonna stay consistent with it, and the viewers will come, of course. If you do a good job and stay consistent with it. But guys, on that note, we're gonna wrap some of this up here. So here's what we're looking at tomorrow: big enhanced risk from Minneapolis all the way down to Chicago. I bet that enhanced risk is about where that enhanced risk is probably going to be tomorrow. Maybe it'll get extended slightly to the west or maybe slightly to the south. But that enhanced risk is about in the right place. It was a level 3 out of 5. I will say there's a chance, I think, that we go to a moderate risk, but I don't really know if this is a moderate type. I don't know if this is a level 4 out of 5 type of setup. It's close, but I don't think it's quite there. And then, of course, we have an enhanced risk for Friday. I bet that gets moved a little bit further south towards Memphis and Nashville, like down here. I bet that gets moved a little bit farther south, but that's in a pretty good spot. And that goes all the way up to Dayton and Cincinnati up there in Ohio. And then Sunday, we have our slight risk across Oklahoma. I bet that gets expanded north into Kansas or Nebraska, and probably a little bit further south into Texas, maybe a little bit further east towards like Tulsa or Topeka. And then day 6, we have a bigger one, literally in the same spot. This is kind of what I think day 4 is going to look like here in a bit, but I bet this gets extended north and south and east a little bit, but and then here's day 6. Day 7. You don't have anything for day 7, but if I had to guess, this is what we're going to see. We're definitely going to see a day 7. Well, tonight it'll be the day 6, but this risk that there's no risk right now, but we're definitely going to see one like right here. Let me draw it. We're definitely going to see a risk come out like right here. So this is going to be our day 7. So you're going to see the SPC do something like that in a few hours. And then I bet we get day 8. We might have to wait a couple more days, but I bet there's something. I bet there's at least a slight risk in this area for day 8. So it's going to start over here, move slightly east, and then it's going to move into the Ohio Valley by Wednesday. So on that note, let me make sure I didn't miss anything in the chat here. Let me double check. Let me double check. I didn't miss anything here. But if you guys want me to keep doing these lives, I'm going to keep doing them. So on that note, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Let me get my computer. Let me get my laptop so I can go ahead and turn this stream off. But on that note, guys, we're going to get out of here. I'm probably not going to leave tonight. I'm probably going to leave very early tomorrow morning and get up to Wisconsin. Like I said, eastern Wisconsin, southeastern Wisconsin, down to Indiana, northeastern. I do not want to chase in Chicago. I promise you, the last thing I want to do is chase a tornado in Chicago. That would be a nightmare. Do not want to do that. But on that note, guys, we're going to get out of here. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. We're not going to get out of here. Hold on. Seymour with the $20 super chat. Seymour, you're too generous, bro. Thank you so much. Guys, everybody spam in the comments, W. Seymour. Thank you so much, Seymour. I appreciate that. You just paid for half a tank of gas. So when I leave for my trip tomorrow morning, Seymour paid for some of that gas to help me get up there. So thank you so much, Seymour. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll be on the storms, hopefully on the tornadoes. Hopefully we don't have any bad tornadoes destroying people's property. But love to see a tornado in like a forest or a field or something. But we'll be on the tornadoes tomorrow. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.